Hey everybody, welcome back to Walking with Jesus Daily. This is the recording for day 323. We are getting close to the end of our studies. This is crazy, but this is the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. So perfect timing to be thankful for so many things. And in this instance, maybe thankful for the greatest thing. We'll continue on in Mark 16, 12 through 13, but a large chunk of this is going to be Luke 24, 13 through 35. And I was really trying to record and cover this yesterday so I could have this posted early this morning, but one, it felt forced and rushed, and two, I love this story and I just wanted to have the opportunity, if I needed to sit in it for a while, and if not, that's okay too. So let's just read the very short 2 verses from Mark 16. As always, I hope you've spent some time in prayer. I hope that your mind is set on things above right from the get-go, and you can just kind of stay in that space. I know this has got me thinking too, because I have sometimes people have hard years. They miss people for holidays. People have passed away. They've lost people. And that loss can come in many different forms. But I know holidays can be difficult. As was this time. So, do spend time in prayer for other people, because you never know how bad the other people need it. You don't have to pray for yourself, but we can certainly pray for other people. We know there are a lot of people hurting. So, all right. Mark 16, 12, and 13. After these things, he appeared in another form to 2 of them as they were walking into the country. And they went back and told the rest, but they did not believe them. So that's the shortened version. Luke gives us a little bit more of a detailed version of this story. So, Luke's version reads like this. That very day, 2 of them were going to a village named Emmaus. That's how I'm going to say it. But we're going to a village named Emmaus, about 7 miles from Jerusalem. So, not far from where Jesus was in the tomb, right? And they were talking with each other. They were talking with each other about all these things that had happened. And it says, while they were talking and discussing together, Jesus himself drew near and went with them. Now here in Luke, it doesn't point out who these 2 men are, but it does say where they're going. And it does say what they were talking about. And while they were talking and discussing together, Jesus himself drew near and went with them. But their eyes were kept from recognizing him, just like Mary's. And he said to them, "What is this conversation that you are holding with each other as you walk?" And they stood still, looking sad. Then one of them, named Cleopas, now we're getting somewhere, answered him, "Are you the only visitor to Jerusalem who does not know the things that have happened there in these days. In other words, everybody knows. You say, how could everybody know and they still get away with it? How could the governing bodies have gotten away with this? How could everybody know and yet this is still how it ends up? Right? I mean, isn't this a great question? But this is no different than how things happen right now. Right in front of our faces. All right. It says, and he said to them, what things? And they said to him, concerning Jesus of Nazareth, a man who was a prophet, mighty in deed and work before God and all the people, and how our chief priests and rulers delivered him up to be condemned to death. Our chief priests and rulers delivered him, Jesus of Nazareth, a man who was a prophet, mighty in deed and word before God and all the people. They crucified him. It goes on to say, but we had hoped that he was the one to redeem Israel. Yes, and besides all this, it is now the third day since these things happened. Moreover, some women of our company amazed us. They were at the tomb early in the morning, and when they did not find his body, they came back saying that they had even seen a vision of angels who said that he was alive. Some of those who were with us went to the tomb and found it just as the woman had said, but they did not see. Interesting. So, who are we talking about here? Well, obviously referring to what we are thinking is Peter and John and the Marys. And let's continue. Some of those who were there with us went to the tomb and found it just as the woman had said, but him they did not see. And he said to them, O foolish ones, and slow of heart to believe all that the prophets have spoken. Wow. It's harsh, right? Oh, foolish. Jesus is just walking along with this conversation. They think Jesus is the foolish one because he doesn't know what took place. And Jesus just wants to hear what they think took place. He calls them foolish. He calls them slow of heart to believe. He says, was it not necessary? Was it not necessary that the Christ should suffer these things and enter into his glory? Was it not necessary that the Christ should suffer these things and enter into his glory? And beginning with Moses and all the prophets, he interpreted to them in all the scriptures the things concerning himself. So he started with Moses. Can you imagine this walk? There wouldn't be enough time. And beginning with Moses and all the prophets, he interpreted to them in all the scriptures the things concerning himself. So they drew near to the village to which they were going. He acted as if he were going further. This says farther. But they urged him strongly, saying, "Stay with us, for it is toward evening, and the day is now far spent." So he went in to stay with them. When he was at table with them, he took the bread and blessed it and broke it and gave it to them. And their eyes were opened, and they recognized him. What? And he vanished from their sight. They said to each other, "Did our hearts not burn within us while he talked to us on the road, while he opened to us the scriptures?" And they rose that same hour and returned to Jerusalem, and they found the 11 and those who were with them gathered together, saying, "The Lord has risen indeed, and has appeared to Simon." Then they told what happened on the road and how he was known to them in the breaking of bread. So what a cool story. I love this story mostly because Jesus is right there with these men who were believers. Jesus is right there with these men who were talking about him. And all the things that were going on in Jerusalem, all the craziness that was taking place. And Jesus hasn't gone anywhere. He's right there where he has been. And Jesus is walking with them. And then he's basically like, "How are you guys not putting this together? That this is what had to take place." He says, "Let me explain to you all the similarities now, so you can figure it out. Let me explain to you the scriptures now, so you can figure it out." So he does. Are their eyes open because of the scriptures? No. Are their eyes open because they were talking about Jesus? No. Are their eyes open because they believed what Jesus was saying? No. When were their eyes opened? When Jesus broke bread. When Jesus broke bread with them. When they sat with him, and he took bread and he blessed it and he broke it and he gave it to them. You ever do something, go somewhere, smell something, hear something, and there's some kind of memory, there's something that's drawing you to, but you can't figure out what it is. And then there's that final piece to the puzzle that's added in, and then everything makes sense. And you remember, this was that final piece. It wasn't necessarily any one thing. But it was all these things. It's hard to believe something that you've never witnessed before, or did not even know was possible. It's hard to believe something that you've never witnessed or even know is possible. To believe that the world was created in 6 days, 6 actual rotations, and that God spoke it into existence. This is one of those things, right? Like, this is hard. How do you believe, like, if Jesus had been buried and then, like, later on that same day, you know, he shows up, or, you know, maybe a little bit more believable. But imagine having 3 days to just be sad and let your mind run wild, and you've already scattered. I mean, the last you knew, Jesus was betrayed in the garden, and then you've been gone ever since then. You think about what happens with you in your simple life when you're away from Jesus step away from Jesus for a very short period of time, hours, a day, right? Think about what happens. And we know he lives in us. Imagine not knowing he exists at all. Let's read this Luke passage in 24 a couple different ways. It's neat that Luke is the only one who has this account. Later that same day, this is Passion. Later that same day, 2 of Jesus' disciples were walking from Jerusalem to Emmaus, a journey of about 17 miles. Okay, it's different. It says the Greek text states that the distance from Jerusalem to Emmaus was 60 stadia, 7 miles in the majority of manuscripts. However, some writers, as well as a few Greek manuscripts, read 160 stadia, which would be 17 miles. There is an ancient site in modern-day Israel identified as Emmaus that is 17 miles from Jerusalem and is known for its hot springs. The word Emmaus is taken from a Hebrew word that means the burning place. So I don't know. I don't know if it really matters if it was 7 or 17. The fact of the matter is, it wasn't in Jerusalem. They were in the midst of a discussion about all the events of the last few days when Jesus walked up and accompanied them in their journey. They were unaware that it was actually Jesus walking alongside them, for God prevented them from recognizing him. Jesus said to them, "You seem to be in a deep discussion about something. What are you talking about so sad and gloomy?" They stopped, and the one named Cleopas answered, "Haven't you heard? Are you the only one in Jerusalem unaware of the things that have happened over the last few days?" Some people believe this could be the same Cleopas that's mentioned in John 19:25. Just a side note. Jesus asked, "What things?" "The things about Jesus, the man from Nazareth," they replied. "He was a mighty prophet of God who performed miracles and wonders. His words were powerful, and he had great favor with God and the people. But 3 days ago, the high priest and the rulers of the people sentenced him to death and had him crucified. We had all hoped that he was the one who would redeem and rescue Israel. I think that statement is very interesting. We had all hoped that he was the one who would redeem and rescue Israel. We had all hoped that he was going to be the guy to set us free from the Roman rule. Let's just call it what it is. No one at this point is thinking, this is the guy that's going to free us from our sins. They called him a prophet, not the Son of God. It says, early this morning, some of the women informed us of something amazing. They said they went to the tomb and found it empty. They claimed 2 angels appeared and told them that Jesus is now alive. Some of us went to see for ourselves and found the tomb exactly as the women had said. But no one has seen him. We believe, but no one has seen him. So Jesus said to them, why are you so thick-headed? Just like, sometimes I'm like, man, Jesus, just burrow right in there, buddy. Why are you so thick-headed? Why do you find it so hard to believe every word the prophets have spoken? Wasn't it necessary for the Messiah to experience all these sufferings and afterward to enter into his glory? Now, can we sit in these sentences for a minute? This is Jesus talking to us. Dan, why are you so thick-headed? Like, why don't you get this? What are you struggling to understand here? Why do you find it so hard to believe every word the prophets have spoken? Why is it so hard to believe what the prophets have said? You've known about this for a very long time, and yet you still don't get it. Last question. Wasn't it necessary? Wasn't it necessary for the Messiah to experience all these sufferings and afterward to enter into his glory? Like, wasn't it necessary? Now that I've asked you if you're thick-headed and if you can't believe or understand what the prophets have to say, let me finish up here strong. Wasn't it necessary for the Messiah to experience all these sufferings and afterward to enter into his glory? How does suffer and glory go in the same sentence? And beginning with Moses and all the prophets, he carefully unveiled to them the revelation of himself throughout the scriptures. As they approached the village, Jesus walked on ahead, telling them he was going on to a distant place because he was technically going to Galilee. They urged him to remain there with them and pleaded, "Stay with us. It'll be dark soon." So Jesus went with them into the village. Joining them at the table for supper, he took bread and blessed it and broke it. Then he gave it to them. How many times have you sat down? How many times have you had that bread broken, blessed and broken? All at once, their eyes were opened and they realized he was Jesus. Then suddenly, in a flash, Jesus vanished before their eyes. Stunned, they looked at each other and said, "Why didn't we recognize him? Didn't our hearts burn with the flames of holy passion while we walked beside him? He unveiled for us such profound revelation from the Scriptures." They left at once and hurried back to Jerusalem to tell the other disciples. When they found the 11 and the other disciples all together, they overheard them saying, "It's really true. The Lord is risen from the dead. He even appeared to Peter." What about Mary? But then the 2 disciples told the others what had happened to them on the road to Emmaus, and how Jesus had unveiled himself in the breaking of bread. Now, I'm going to read this little excerpt here before we check out the Amplified and call it a day. Luke's gospel begins and ends with similar stories. In the beginning of Jesus' life, we have the story of his parents walking off from Jerusalem and leaving him in the temple. Unaware that they had left Jesus behind, Luke ends with the story of Jesus walking alongside 2 disciples, and they weren't aware of who was walking next to them. Both accounts were after the feast. In both stories, they were leaving Jerusalem, and both the Jewish scholars in the temple in Luke 2 and the 2 Emmaus Road disciples, Luke 24, were astounded at what Jesus taught them. Interesting. I never thought about that or put those things together. All right, one last version, and this really cool story is yours. And then that very day, 2 of them were going to a village called Emmaus, which was about 7 miles from Jerusalem. 717, outside Jerusalem. And they were talking with each other about all these things which had taken place. While they were talking and discussing it, Jesus himself came up and began walking with them, but their eyes were miraculously prevented from recognizing him. It's like when I'm looking in the fridge for something and I've got it in my mind what it looks like. It could be right in front of me, but if it's not what I am looking for in my mind, I don't see what I'm looking for. I can't explain this phenomena, but I believe it's affected men all over the country, and maybe even all over the world. Here, these men's eyes were prevented from recognizing Jesus. I'm not certain they would have recognized him either way, right? So Jesus asked them, "What are you discussing with one another as you walk along?" And they stood still, looking brokenhearted. One of them, named Cleopas, answered him, "Are you the only stranger visiting Jerusalem who is unaware of the things which have happened here in these recent days?" It's almost like they're calling him thick-headed, right? What are you, thick? He asked, "What things?" And they replied, "The things about Jesus of Nazareth, who was a prophet, powerful in deed and word in the sight of God and all the people, and how the chief priests and our rulers handed him over to be sentenced to death and crucified him." Bam. Big long sentence, a lot in there. We're talking about Jesus of Nazareth. He was a prophet. This is what they're calling him. He was a prophet. He was powerful in deed and in word in the sight of God and in the sight of all the people and the chief priests and our rulers. And remember, who our battle is against. Our rulers handed him over to be sentenced to death, and they crucified him. This is what took place. Here's what their hope was. We were hoping that it was he who was going to redeem Israel and set our nation free. We were hoping that this man, Jesus, because of his signs and wonders and being a prophet and, being who he was, we were hoping he was going to set us free, set our nation free. Indeed, besides all this, it is the third day since these things happened. Now they're identifying what day of the week it is, where they're going, who the people are walking, what they're talking about while they're walking. And also, some of the women among us shocked us. They were at the tomb early in the morning, and they did not find his body. They came and told us this, and we're shocked. Then they came back saying that they had even seen a vision of angels who said that he was alive. So now we got angels, we got no body, and we have women's report. Some of those who were with us went to the tomb and found it just exactly as the woman had said, but they did not see him. Then Jesus said to them, "O foolish men, and slow of heart to trust and believe in everything the prophets have spoken." O foolish men. Yes, Jesus, you have called me by name, foolish man. Said slow of heart to trust and believe in everything that the prophets have spoken. Was it not necessary for the Christ to suffer these things and only then to enter his glory? Is it not necessary for us to suffer these things to enter into his glory? If it was necessary for Jesus to suffer these things to enter into his glory, and we're wanting to enter into that same place, isn't it necessary for us to suffer? Right? Then beginning with Moses, and throughout all the writings of the prophets, he explained and interpreted for them the things referring to himself found in all the scriptures. Then they approached the village where they were going, and he acted as if he were going farther. But they urged him not to go on, saying, "Stay with us, because it is almost evening, and the day has just about ended." So he went inside to stay with them. Imagine being with somebody who explained all of these things in this incredible way, and you're probably like, who is this guy? I can't argue with him. What he's saying makes sense. But who is this guy? And it happened that as he reclined at the table with them, as he reclined at the table with them, just like the Passover meal, he took the bread and he blessed it, and breaking it, he began giving it to them. Do you ever see Jesus in this way when you are taking communion? I always picture myself at that table with him. But how dare we take that like on our own? How dare we take that in a way that is focused on ourselves? Then their eyes were suddenly opened by God, and they clearly recognized him, and he vanished from their sight. Now, this doesn't mean as soon as you see Jesus, he's going to disappear. It doesn't mean that if you're seeking Jesus and your heart is burning, that he's going to disappear as soon as you recognize him. Okay? They said to one another, "Were not our hearts burning within us while he was talking with us on the road and opening the scriptures to us?" They got up that very hour and went back to Jerusalem. I thought it was going to be dark and you shouldn't continue your journey. They were headed back, and they found the 11 apostles gathered together and those who were with them, saying, "The Lord has really risen and has appeared to Simon Peter." So now you got Peter, and now you got Cleopas and this other guy. They began describing in detail what had happened on the road and how Jesus was recognized by them when he broke the bread. Jesus took the bread, and after giving thanks, he broke it and said to them, "Take and eat, for this is my body, broken, sacrificed for you." To join Jesus in his death is necessary. This time that Jesus spent with these two men, he spent time explaining the scriptures. He spent time describing what had to take place. But it wasn't until he sat and broke bread with them, gave thanks, and broke bread, that they saw him for who he really was. Our spiritual takeaway from this is that it's not the knowledge of knowing what happened to Jesus or who Jesus was. It's not the understanding of the prophecies. It's that personal relationship, that sitting with him, breaking bread, and being in the presence of Jesus. Should we search the scriptures? Yes. I'm not saying we shouldn't search the scriptures. Should we seek him out in every possible way? Yes. Should we talk about him? Yes. Should we listen to how he opens up the scriptures to us? Yes. Should we be obedient? Yes. But we need to sit with him in his presence and know him. Recognize his voice. See him for the truth that he is. And allow God to open our hearts and our minds to all things. He opened their mind to the scripture. They just couldn't see. Praise God, he made a way for them to see. When you seek with all your heart, you will find. When you draw near to God, he will draw near to you. I pray this is us. I pray this is you. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Love you.